In this lesson, we are going to modify this model a little bit. Instead of calling from the runtime's dispatch directly into the internals of the balances palette, we want to route it and make it very clean to pass to the dispatch function of the balances palette call enum, and the dispatch function internally decides what kind of methods it wants to call. But first of all, why do we want to exactly do this? Let's, for example, have a look at the current code and look into the future. How will our runtime calls look like X palettes later? Here I've prepared our runtime call with a few more variants. For example, balances could have transfer/set. There could be more, a lot more, as well as system, set block number, endpost, set validator count. This could be a huge list. Now, and how will our dispatch for the runtime implementation look like? Equally messy. So there will be calls, this will get into the functions, and this has just a few drawbacks. The runtime call obviously grows very large and it's hard to maintain. Furthermore, there's a risk of accidentally mixing palette logic in one big enum. What is the solution to that? We started to prepare it earlier. We have this enum call at the palette level, and this call specifies what kind of logic it wants to expose. Now, at the runtime level, we just specify a runtime call and with calls to the palette. And this contains the more specific calls, which then are gonna be mapped at the palette level, a palette module logic, to what kind of functions they wanna call. So this is an outer enum wrapper, the runtime call, and it contains our inner enum, like balances call, which is gonna be for example, in our case, this call over here. The benefits are that the runtime calls remain clean and compact. Each palette owns and manages its all call types and dispatch logic. Furthermore, what's really nice is that adding new calls only requires changes inside that specific palette. No runtime changes needed. To achieve our goal, there are three things that we need to do. First of all, we need to modify the runtime call. There's not going to be our balances transfer anymore, but just balances, which is going to capture the call enum from the balances palette. So your task is to create a balances variant, and this contains a balances call. Then we move on to the dispatch logic. Inside the dispatch logic, obviously, the call is going to change to balance. This is going to have the call, hold the call, and you want to forward this call to the balances dispatch logic. So if we go in here, dispatch, and then we have caller and call. Please don't forget that this can throw an error and you still have to propagate it. Finally, at the end, you will notice that there might be some errors with the extrinsics here. We need to modify the call here as well in order to be able to send 30 token to Bob and here 20 token to Charlie. Pause the video and apply these changes. You already wrote dispatch logic before, so try reusing that pattern at the palette level. Nesting enums helps keep your runtime clean as you add palettes, avoiding massive match statements.